And now we're going to jump into a discussion of some new jump starts with our good friend Maxy Barnard.
That's me.
And perhaps we've got two new modern classics on our hand because we're starting off with a series called Teenage Renaissance David that pays heavy tribute to the classics in a sophisticated, mature, respectful way.
I mean, at the very least, it finds a new definition for the idea of a manga classic.
Yes, truly. So, should we jump right into it and discuss the first of these two new series?
Yeah, we should.
Absolutely.
Alright, so Teenage Renaissance David by Yushin Kuroki. Who wants to take the lead on this one?
I guess I could, since I could put it as succinctly as possible. Teenage Renaissance David is essentially a high school comedy where the main character is literally the... What's it called? The Michelangelo statue?
Michelangelo's
what?
David.
The David.
Yeah.
That's why it's called Teenage Renaissance David.
Exactly.
But I don't think you say it like David. I think you say it how Sid said it, but I've never had to say it out loud, so I assume it's like the
How did
proper
I
name
say it?
David.
Did I say it like David or something?
David sounds better, but I'm going to keep saying David because...
I like that too.
In fact, no, you know what? I'm going to call it Dave. That sounds more English, you know? It's like, oh, it's Dave, the statue bloke.
Or Davey.
Hey, Davey.
Davey. And yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about the premise other than that. Like, I think it's pretty straightforward, personally. It's
a concept that's so simple that I'm amazed it hasn't actually been done in this particular way before. It's dumb. In the best way. Like, it's literally just, hey, it's modern art, but a school. Because, like, his love interest is Venus. Like, literally, when she's introduced, it's that whole thing where her hair's being held up, you know? That painting?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about art history, as you can tell from how I vaguely allude to what they might be.
Yep.
It makes for easy comedy, especially on the part of David himself, because, like, all you really have to do is make a statue pull a silly face, and it's amazing. Like... And you get a lot of this. It's the best way of describing the gag comedy in this is that it's a social embarrassment gag comedy. It's all about putting David in positions that cause him immense distress, and he pulls a face. And it kind of, and like we're only a few chapters in, it's really nailed it out the gate. Like some people have a lot of negative things to say about it, but honestly, I've laughed at almost every single gag so far.
Personally, I thought, I didn't think it was like, I don't know, I didn't think it was like laugh out loud funny or anything, but I at least thought it was amusing. Like, if I had the opportunity to read this every week, I probably would. It's kind of like with, what we were talking about a few episodes ago with, Sleepy Princess and the Demon's Castle, where, for me, it's not the kind of thing I would, like, probably read an entire volume of, or, you know, read too much of at a time. Like, it's the kind of thing that I'm comfortable keeping up with just on a weekly basis, like a comic strip kind of thing almost.
Yeah, like it's really well suited to that weekly pace. Like, I've literally the very week before these two new series started, I was lamenting the fact that I really wasn't feeling Jump anymore. Like, I was enjoying Black Clover, other stuff I'd be like, this is good, but I'm not, like, hyped to read this magazine every week. And as it turns out, just, like, having an issue that was bookended by, like, comedy and comedy that was, like, funny and, like, a short, sharp dose of, like, haha, like, really kind of brought that love back to me. Like, I'm a gag manga guy. Back when I used to do, like, the very bad thing of scanlating, I explicitly did gag manga because that's what I really care about, and they're really underserved in Western markets. And Teenage Renaissance David is very much a classic style gag manga. You know, it's in, it's out, it'll do something embarrassing, there'll be some urine. It's on level, really.
Yeah. Literally a naked little man who will pee on David in every chapter.
Mannequin Peace! Mannequin Peace!
Yes, the symbol of the humor of the good people of Brussels.
But the thing is, right, him turning up in chapter 1 is kind of amazing because it's just this joke of, oh, it's a statue that's constantly pissing. But then in chapter 2, it's like he's Chekhov's mannequin piece because because he was shown in chapter 1 so that he could save David from pissing himself in chapter 2, which is I can't even get over how good this comic is.
It is the funniest moment of friendship bonding, and that he saves him by peeing all over him to mask David's pee.
And in
It's
fact,
great.
the whole scenario of chapter 2, because what it is with chapter 2 is somehow like David and Venus are now on an okay level again, despite the fact that she definitely saw him naked in chapter 1. But he needs to pee real bad. But he ends up having to join in the football, at which point the worst thing that can happen when you need to wee in doing sports happens, which is he gets hit in the crotch by a football. And then he gets hit in the crotch, before this one even lands, he gets hit in the crotch by another football immediately. and pisses himself. And it's puerile. It is just like real simple, like scatological humor, except for wee instead of poo. But like, it got me right here in my heart. I love it.
I'm sorry. All I'm thinking about is Mole Man's home movie from that episode of The Simpsons.
That was the second I said it, because I realized as well. I keep saying like football to you guys. It would be a soccer ball because you're wrong.
Yeah, we are. I mean, the only country that refers to it as soccer.
I used to be on a forum for the Dragon Ball Z live action movie years before it ever actually happens. Like, to give you an idea, it was like people campaigning for it for like a decade before.
No, stop the world. That was a thing.
yeah. Like, literally from like 2003, for like 13 years old, spent years being part of this forum that was like about the possibility of a Dragon Ball live action movie. Mostly we just talked about whatever the fuck, but it was the structure of the forum. And one of the main rules there was set up by someone so that if you typed soccer, it would censor it like a swear word, and that is one of my favourite little touches in the world. But we'll come back to football in due time, because strangely, that's a running theme throughout these jump starts.
Oh man, I just love how Mannequin Piece just. I love how he has the Jotaro hat. That fucking slayed me.
Yeah. Like it's such a tiny little jump reference, but it really lands, especially with his sort of rough around the edges, delinquent style of speaking. In the same way, we'll come back to that one later. That's that's the other series. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Now all I can imagine, like, as soon as I saw that, I just imagine him being voiced by Daisuke Ono, the voice of Jotaro.
That's gotta be a voice of him if this ever gets an anime adaptation. Also, props for using the Jump pirate head logo to censor their penises.
Which fun. I got stupidly excited. The Jump pirate had a sort of period where he was like the forgotten mascot, but then stuff like this has really brought it back to the forefront in a grotesque way.
I mean, there was also that one episode of Gintama where, it was an anime only episode, but there's literally an episode where they keep keep showing like alternate endings to the show, and then like the Jump pirate logo with like Piccolo arms comes out of nowhere and tells them that they have to keep going.
Gintama, I think, for the anime, actually has a few appearances of that Jump pirate. It's an excellent bit of logo design, and it works so well as a censor thing. I would genuinely put that up against Shiraishi's face in Golden Kamuy as like which one's better.
I mean, they're both pretty good, yeah. And
it speaks with a translator's note that very few people really need. Because it goes, ciao.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's not even, in fact, not even that one. It's the other thing as well. It's the translator's note. Sorry, I'm so excited about David. I really am taking over this like entire section for a second. But like he ends up saying crap, and you get a proper Keikaku means plan moment. Because like it just goes over. It's like, this means crap, and I died on the spot. It's little touches like that. Like, it's not just that this is a funny gag manga. The team who are handling it for the Viz Jump start have really, really sold it. The lettering's great. I think that might be Annalise.
Is it?
I think so. Let us check.
Yeah, like, please make sure that we're giving appropriate accreditation so I don't accidentally give it to the wrong person. But it's,
Yes, Annalisa letters Teenage Renaissance David.
Because, like, there's a lot to be said for choice of fonts when someone's speaking in another language, especially when it's got this classical Greek vibe. And they could have absolutely F that up. They could have just made a complete mess of that. But the choice of, like, fancy script used for this, like, really makes things like the jump sensor mask saying "chow" like the funniest thing to me, because it's just given that little extra artistic touch that a joke like that really doesn't deserve at all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, enough of me. Sid, how did you find it? Sorry, I got carried away.
I thought it was delightfully juvenile. I think that the contrast of using these classical works of art for the most sophomoric humor imaginable, true toilet humor, was pretty ingenious. It does write itself. It is inherently funny that the stupid statue people are making silly faces and are peeing on each other. So it appeals to the basest form of comedy, and it's doing it really well. And I do think that, just the fun little flourishes, like the Jump logo, sparkly eyes, when Venus sees David's dick, and it's like, I'm like, you just mentioned the chow, and then the chow means saving. That was great. That was hilarious.
I even forgot the crux of chapter 1 as well. It becomes the painting of God and Adam touching fingers.
Yeah. Like, these references to classical paintings in absurd comedy situations is great. I mean, it continues in chapter 2 too, although I can't, like, pin down the exact reference in that one. But, like, when David is running across the field and the moment where he pees, it makes a very clear reference to some painting. But so it's like, it's really funny that that the author is working in, like, these really funny moments to insert, like, a reference to a classical painting in, like, the most absurd, really funny, dumb way. It's really nice.
I think I said on the last episode that, like, I was really hoping that the David statue would just stay in its, like, classic pose the entire time and, like, not change, like, position or pose at all. But I'm kind of glad the series didn't go with that, because I could see that being pretty limiting. Like, that probably would have worked better in animation. That sounds like the kind of thing like an Adult Swim show would do, or something.
Yeah, or what was the anime from last year, Sekko Boys?
Yeah.
Like that did the similar thing with the busts, and I think on some level that probably makes it a good thing that David didn't go down that exact same route, because you don't want to feel like you have significant crossover with one of the only other gag manga that's really doing this sort of weird juxtaposition between classical art and a sitcom setting.
Yeah.
But God, and also, like, it can't be said enough. Like, gag manga are not traditionally pretty. Most gag manga they're short, they're punchy, they get in, and they're kind of ugly because it doesn't matter how they look, it's about getting the joke out. And the kind of stunning thing with David is it's really meticulously, like, rendered for something that's just short, stupid gag humor.
Yeah, the cross-hatching and attention to detail is pretty intense. I'm surprised that the author put so much attention to keep it consistent throughout the chapter.
I'll be surprised if they can, like, keep it up on this sort of level forever, especially because I'm not 100% sure what the average page count is going to be, and we're not really going to know till chapter 4 because of how Jump works, and we might not see chapter 4 in English, so who knows. But as long as it looks like this, like, I will just want it to not even necessarily do well, but just be in the magazine, because that's a nice look.
I was just kind of skimming through the first chapter at least right now, and yeah, I was a bit surprised that it wasn't as long as, like, what a usual first chapter of manga usually are, but it's also a gag manga, so those are usually significantly shorter. First chapter was about, like, 23 pages or so, I think.
Yeah.
The second chapter was about 16 pages.
I feel like you wouldn't want something like this to go beyond that length. I don't think you can pace out the gags well if this were to have had, like, a massive first chapter.
Yeah.
So it's definitely to its benefit that it came in with a short chapter and then got shorter, because it's being about the jokes, which is what gag manga is. Why they call gag manga instead of plot manga, you know? But I'm very glad that there was that realization, because sometimes you'll get comedy things that have a massive 50-page opening chapter, and you're kind of exhausted by the end of it. Like, I want to say Invade You's first chapter, like, I love Invade You, incidentally, as much as it's a poor, dead thing now. But I feel like its first chapter did kind of overstay its welcome by a little bit. And that wasn't like a huge first chapter, I think, but it was longer than this, at least. But
yeah, I do think a lot of gag chapters like this do need to be, like, succinct. They just need to get in and out. So, yeah, I mean, like, a short page length would actually benefit Teenage Renaissance David, not only because the work that goes into drawing David and all these statue characters is intensive, but also, you know, it helps keep the jokes not overstay their welcome. And, like, Teenage Renaissance David's formula, as evidenced by these first couple chapters, seems like it is, you know, what Maxy said earlier, in that it's basically an embarrassment comedy. Like, the joke is that David is gonna get in an embarrassing and awkward situation in every chapter, and then he's going to yell out, "Kazo!" And that's gonna be the joke. Like, Venus is gonna see him in an embarrassing position, and it's just gonna end humiliatingly for him. So that's basically how every chapter is going to go, it seems like. And so you don't want to, like, drag out that point multiple times within a single chapter. You just want to have it, you know, here is the situation for this chapter, it's done, and now you can wait for next week. And then it won't be as tiring or repetitive on the weekly read.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just good and punchy. I don't think I have a lot more to say about it. It's nice.
I think the only other thing I have to say is I think it works fine as a comic. You know, again, like we've been saying, it's short and punchy, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and I appreciate that. I think this is another candidate for probably another good, like, 10-minute length an episode, shorter run anime. Like, this is the kind of thing I would watch week to week, like I did with Sekko Boys in particular.
I feel like it would suit the kind of thing like what Akuma no Memu-Memu-chan had. This was a Jump Plus series that's still going. I don't know why I said was. It got it literally just got like a short 1-episode flash thing, and that worked well. It was very lo-fi, but it fit the length for the thing. It didn't have to worry about fitting usual television lengths. Or even better, Isobe Monogatari. It had a bean anime, like literally ones that last maybe about 30-40 seconds. Or if you want to go slightly further, Wakakazake, that was like a 5-minute episode including its opening and ending. Like, this would be very suited to the sort of short anime formats that are getting, I wouldn't want to say popular nowadays, but companies seem to be more at ease doing them instead of forcing something into a full-length product.
Certainly, they're getting more exposure over here, and now that streaming companies like Crunchyroll bring them over to us, and because they're so short and like just nicely enjoyable on the weekly watch through, I think that series like these find an audience now where they might have not before.
And hell, even if you wanted to, like, for some reason you wanted to binge these kind of shows, like, it wouldn't take you that long to, you know, get through an entire series, depending on how long per episode it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could finish like an entire full core show in half an hour with how short some of these episodes can be.
Definitely less than like an hour or two for sure.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves talking about like the
yeah,
let's be animation.
Let's see how long this actually lasts. I mean, a lot of the jump starts haven't had much longevity this year.
Yeah,
well, that's true, but anything's possible at this point. Like, Dorake, a fantastic, like, cops and robbers team-up series in a Young Jump, has a drama after, like, half a year. Anything can happen now. Like, the rulebook's out the window. I can't predict anything anymore after that. David could have an anime last week. I have no clue.
Yeah, watch it. David is gonna be, it's gonna be, like, the most popular gag manga in Jump by this time in, like, 6 months.